Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Expedia Virtual Travel Night. My name is Lisa Antflick. I'm one of the travel advisors at Expedia Cruises. I think I can speak for all of us that we love to travel, but since that's not possible at this time, we've decided to invite you to some virtual nights to keep you dreaming of travel to come. I know my love of travel and seeing the world has not diminished, and I'm looking forward to the time when I can start to travel again. So earlier, 2020 has been amazing, hasn't it? Earlier this year, like most other businesses, we closed our office due to COVID, but our office is now open again, and we're here to assist you with your future travel plans. Recently, we went through a brand name change. We are now Expedia Cruises, a shorter name, and we're Air, Land, and Sea Vacations. So remember, we're more than just cruises. We can help you with all types of vacation travel, including hotels, resorts, trains, coach tours, and of course, ocean and river cruises. For those of you who have not been on a Zoom meeting before, everyone is muted because of the size of the group. You do have the control if you want your video on or off. And if you have any questions, please enter them into the chat feature. We will answer them after the presentation. So it's now time to sit back and dream of future travels and spectacular vacations. I have to say I was fortunate enough to travel on Paul Gauguin a few years ago, and Tahiti is even more beautiful than in any of the photos that you will see. And it was really one of my most memorable vacations. So I'd like to now introduce you to our special guest, Vicki Lubick, Business Development Manager of Paul Gauguin Cruises for Western Canada. And Vicki is joining us from her home office in Calgary. So welcome, Vicki.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And I guess I have to start by saying I was lucky enough to sail with you and Bill when we went. It's a couple of years ago now, right? Yeah, so all kinds of stories we could tell from that experience. But I'm looking forward to you telling a little bit about the experience that you had as well. And feel free to jump in if there's anything that I kind of remind you of as I go through the presentation, or anything just additional that you'd like to share. And Randy has also been on board the ship. It's a few years now since Randy has been on board, but he definitely loved the experience as well. So let's sit back and talk a little bit about French Polynesia and Paul Gauguin Cruises. And you know, unfortunately, I guess the thing I have to start off is talking about the COVID situation and health and protocols, these kinds of things. But I think let's get this out of the way. I hope, first of all, that you and your loved ones are all well. And just know that French Polynesia opened up to international guests starting in July of this year, and we started sailing in July as well. But to be honest, for Canadians, I think until we have the 14-day quarantine and the government travel advisory, until that's been lifted, I really think it'll be a little while before we start to see a large amount of Canadians traveling back to French Polynesia. But when you're ready, just know that the health protocols that we have on board far exceed international standards. So the World Health Organization, CLIA, the cruise line industry, the protocols that they developed, what we did is we worked with our parent company, which is Pinot, and we worked with a company that is or collaborated with them. They're one of the world's leading centers in the field of infectious disease. And this protocol that we've built is built on a double principle. So 100% monitoring people and goods before they are on the ship, and then continually monitoring guests while they're on board as well. So, you know, there's a few words that I think have come into our vocabulary a lot in the last 8 months or whatever. Unprecedented is one of them that I'm not crazy about, but the other one is fluid. But this is what I just have to say, is that things are fluid and they are changing right now. So just know that you can rely on the Expedia Cruises folks to help you and let you know everything from the most current protocols in terms of boarding your flight and arriving to the airport in Tahiti, embarking on your cruise, and then any protocols that would be on board. as well. And I'm sure most of you are thinking about probably traveling in 2021. So just know you can speak with the travel advisors, and they'll be willing and more than able to help you out with the current conditions in that respect. Because of these unprecedented times, I think it's great that we have introduced a stress-free booking policy. So we have reduced our deposits. Our final payments are delayed. This is for guests traveling in 2021 up until the end of October of 2021. And also penalty-free cancellations. So you don't need to pay your final payment until 30 days before you go. And at that point, for any reason, you can decide you'd either have a future cruise credit or you'd rather have a credit, and there'll be no questions asked. You'll be able to receive that. So that's, well, we're recording this now in, what is it, early November. And the 3rd, I keep thinking it's the 4th of November. As we're speaking now, this Sail with Confidence policy is something that we have intact, I guess I should say. So enough with the dry stuff. Let's look at dreaming about this amazing destination. And as Lisa said, I promise you, this destination is more beautiful than any picture you've ever seen. Words can barely describe it, and people will return and say things like it was life-changing. So I'll talk a little bit about the islands, where we are, because there's some misconceptions sometimes about the distance and how far it is to get to Tahiti, a little bit about the history and the culture, and then I'll talk to you about why Paul Gauguin cruises. French Polynesia is actually the official name. Often you'll hear them referred to as the islands of Tahiti. Tahiti is one of the islands, so it's a little confusing, but Tahiti is part of a group of islands called the Society Islands. You can kind of see that in the middle of this picture. Are the Society Islands. That also includes Bora Bora and Moorea. If you've never been and you're picturing it in your mind, probably what you're picturing is Bora Bora and Moorea. Those are kind of the two iconic places in French Polynesia. But know that there are 118 islands in all of French Polynesia. And the landmass is very small, but they take up an area about the size of Europe in the ocean. But then the landmass is only the size of Prince Edward Island. So very small. There is a direct nonstop flight out of Los Angeles. It's 8 hours out of Los Angeles. And we always include that flight. In our pricing, we'll include that flight out of LA, or you could choose United Airlines out of San Francisco. We use Air Tahiti Nui out of Los Angeles. And then we include the transfers and day rooms if the day rooms are necessary. So if you think in terms of where Hawaii is north of the equator, Tahiti is south of the equator, about the same distance. But Tahiti in a year receives the same amount of tourists as Hawaii receives in just 7 days. So that's what it's all about, is just this beautiful, unspoiled paradise. I was looking just lately too at the population. 180,000 people live in French Polynesia, and 1.4 million live in the islands of Hawaii. So just talks again to the fact that it is this beautiful, unspoiled paradise. So about the history, well, 6,000 years ago, the people of Samoa, they traveled across the South Seas and they discovered Tonga and Samoa and Fiji and Vanuatu. But then it was almost 2,000 years before they were able to revise their ships and develop them to the extent the technology so that they were able to navigate the strong winds. And then they were able to sail to Hawaii and to Tahiti. And a couple of dates that are important in history: in 1767, Tahiti was claimed by the British. And then in 1880, Tahiti became a French colony. Actually, in 1891, so just right around the turn of the century, our namesake, Paul Gauguin, who was the French Impressionist painter, that's where he went on his self-imposed exile to Tahiti. And this is where his art became very, very famous. Now, the indigenous societies of the South Seas were drastically affected by colonialism and Christianity and the French immersion, the French culture. So their maris, which are their temples, they were destroyed. They were not allowed to tattoo anymore. They weren't even allowed to dance because they said that the art of dance that they had in the islands was too erotic and too inappropriate. So in fact, actually, when Paul Gauguin first went to Tahiti, he was kind of devastated to see how the French culture had corrupted the islands and changed the islands. But thankfully now, you'll find it's the perfect blend of a Tahitian culture, along with this beautiful French shoreline, or the islands with a very French feel to them. I was surprised to learn that it wasn't until 1950 that dance was actually reintroduced to the islands. And it is a very important part of the experience. You'll find on board the ship. We'll talk about the Gauguins. They love to express themselves through dance and through song. And along with, in the 1950s, when dance was reintroduced, that's where a lot of the tourism picked up again as well. When you're in the islands, you're immersed in a culture that's very rich with storytelling. So long before it was popular to record things with pen and paper, people in the French Polynesia recorded things through song and dance and storytelling. And these people believe that there is a supernatural power that everyone has, some within them, and it's called mana. And it's, like I say, everyone has a bit, but historically, people that had lots of mana, they were the priests, or the like the really important people in the villages. With that, I'm just going to show you a little bit, a short video about mana. I'm just going to try that again, because I can see, of course, we tested this a million times before we get on the call, and it played absolutely fine. But let me just try again. And if for some reason, I have two short videos, if for some reason they don't play, we can always, I'll send them to Lisa and Randy, and they can share them with you afterwards. Lisa, could you hear the audio to that? It just wasn't playing? Yeah, you could see the audio. Okay, I might just let it go, because I think eventually it'll pick up. It might just be the speed of the internet, but it's just over about a minute and a half regardless.
Many sides to the islands of Tahiti. There is big and small, day and night. There is warm and there is cool. In our islands, you can connect and disconnect. You can hide. You can seek. The wonderful thing is, with all of these different sides to our islands, there is a single word that can describe it and define it. A single word that can paint the tapestry of our islands, our people, our history, and our culture. That word is mana. Mana is the life force and spirit that surrounds us all. You can see it, hear it, touch it, and taste it. And if you pause just long enough, you will smell its sweet scent too.
I'm going to stop the video there. It goes a little bit longer. It's so unfortunate because the drums and just I love the sound of the narrator there as well too. But We can make sure if you're interested in that, that you can get a copy of that video as well. These things are, it's so funny because you practice these things a million times before. And I showed this exact video on a Zoom meeting last week and it was fine. So I think it's something just to do with the internet speed. Well, anyways, let's talk about Paul Gauguin cruises and why we feel that you should sail with us. The ship is actually purposely built for French Polynesia. It's been in the islands for more than 20 years. And the secret to our success has been the size of this vessel. It's almost 20,000 tons. So it's a large vessel, but it's large enough to offer a luxury experience, but small enough to get close into the islands like this. So the ship has a shallow draft. The draft is more or less the amount of ship underneath the water. And that gives it the ability to get over the lagoons and get close into the islands like this. So what it means for you is that when you're tendering into the destination, less time on tenders. You can see when you're on the upper decks or you're in your veranda here, you're so close into the islands. And typically what we do is we anchor this close into the islands, and then it's usually a very short tender ride into the destination. So never more than 332 guests on board. 70% of the ship is balcony. The rest is all outside. There's no inside staterooms. And we have a 1 to 1.5 crew to guest ratio. So that just talks to the high level of service that we have on board. In terms of life on board, I think the easiest way to think of it is we're all inclusive. So thanks to that all-inclusive pricing, you get to spend more time enjoying some of the world's most beautiful islands and the most unspoiled beaches, and less time worrying about every little detail because everything's been taken care of. So everything from gourmet dining to your onboard gratuities to non-alcoholic and select wines and spirits, top shelf liquors that we include as well. So all-inclusive. In addition, we have 2 exclusive retreats that we do offer 2 days where we have these private retreats, and I'll show you a little bit with that as well. So the only thing really you need to pay for, and you don't even really need to pay for them, are shore excursions if you want to do additional shore excursions. We always include the tenders that take you right into the destination. So if you just want to take your snorkel gear and go off and do your own thing, you're absolutely welcome to do that. You don't need to take shore excursions at all. Oh, sorry, it's pausing and then it's jumping here. We like to call it Laidback Luxury. So we are a luxury cruise line. Where we're different than every other luxury cruise line, though, is that we're very informal in terms of the dress code. So no formal evenings on board. Typically during the day, it's like this. You can see bathing suits, cover-ups, that type of idea. In the evenings, gentlemen typically would have cotton pants and a collared shirt. Women, sundresses. It's always quite a bit easier. If you like to dress up a little bit more, you're absolutely welcome to, but it's not tiaras and gowns and tuxedo kind of weather. And I think that really fits with a lot of North Americans, Western Canadians, definitely, or Canadians, because we want the best food and we want the best service, but we don't just necessarily want to get all dressed up every evening to have receive that. The heartbeat of the entire experience lies with our Gauguins and our Gauguins. So they are a troop of Polynesians that greet you when you arrive. They're your hostesses. They are multi-talented entertainers. They can sing and they can dance and play instruments. The French Polynesian people are some of the most lovely, amiable people you can ever imagine meeting. They love to sing and dance, and they love to talk about their history and their culture. They're very proud people. And as much as we want to bring you to the islands, we want to introduce you to everything there is to know about the islands. So it is a very authentic experience. And a lot of that is because of the experience with the Gauguins, the many things that they do. So under their guidance, you can do everything from learning to make jewelry out of palm fronds. Lisa and I did that. We were pretty pathetic, as I recall. You could do make the haze. That's like the headdress rather than the leis. We do that as well. Learn Tahitian dance, or even learn a few words of the Tahitian language. So they do spend a lot of time with our guests. We do have multiple dining venues that are included in the cost. So you dine, it's open dining. You dine where you want, with who you want, when you want. The top picture here is La Veranda, and it has an alfresco area as well. And here in the evenings, it's open for breakfast and lunch. And then in the evenings, it becomes a really cool French-inspired restaurant. So we change the linens and the crystal, and we dim the lights. And we have here a degustation menu, so little tastings. And it is overseen by Jean-Pierre Vagato, who is a Michelin star chef from France. His restaurant is called Apicius, and he oversees the menu here. If you're a foodie here, this is a great restaurant to spend time in. And on the bottom picture there is La Grill, and that is our Polynesian fusion restaurant that's outdoors in Bora Bora and Moorea. When we overnight, we take it out under the stars, which is a great experience as well. The top picture here is L'Etoile. That is our main dining room. So in L'Etoile, it's open for dinner every evening, and multi-course meals. So you're encouraged to have a soup, a salad, an appetizer, an entree, cheese cart, dessert, open bar, cognacs, so all kinds of spirits as well. And it's an international menu. So everything from if you want to have a steak and a Caesar salad, or you would like something more elaborate, there's lots of variety, and the menu here changes every evening. I will tell you, the one thing about the food is it's so beautiful, you won't want to take a picture of everything, and it tastes absolutely marvelous as well. Now we have alternative dining as well. So if you'd like to dine in your stateroom or your suite, you could dine course by course, and that's included in the cost. Anything that's being served in L'Etoile, you can have in your stateroom. We also have high tea every afternoon that changes, so it's the lavish little pastries and desserts. And we have an early risers breakfast as well, where you from like 5:30 in the morning, you could have pastries and cappuccino and coffees. And there's a really, really nice smoothie bar that we have in that area there as well. Our crew are, I know every cruise line tells you they have great crew, but I can attest to it, and Lisa and Randy will as well. We have exceptional crew. They will truly remember your name. They'll remember how you had your steak cooked the night before and that you had strawberries on your cereal. And they love to anticipate guests' needs. A little while ago, I was talking to a gal that had been on the ship in December, and she had been on 2 different cruises that same year as well. And she was a celiac. And she was saying it's the only time she's ever traveled, really, that the hotel director or the chef would come up to her or the crew and say, look at the menu. These are all the different things we can make for you. And this one we can adjust. And she said they made her feel special to be a celiac rather than saying to her, here you go. These are all the things or the few things that you can eat. So they love to anticipate guest needs like that. We have nightly performances, so everything from these beautiful hip swaying dancers to a cappella singers. It is authentic Polynesian type of entertainment. Usually on every sailing, we'll do a crew show. Actually, the crew show is usually my favorite. It's amazing how talented these people are. A lot of our crew have been on the ship for far more than 10 or 15 years. And so they've been together and they've spent a lot of time together. And the performances are amazing. But we also do sort of a Broadway type of show usually on every sailing. But for the most part, it is authentic Polynesian entertainment. And then from time to time during the day, we bring in other performances as well. Like in Huahine, we have these adorable children that come on and they sing and they dance. Every sailing is enhanced with presentations by local naturalists. So they are, regardless of their specialty, they are well versed in the history and the culture and the flora and the fauna of the islands. They could be marine biologists, whale and dolphin experts, anthropologists, biologists. And on many sailings, in addition, most sailings we have special guests that offer insights into all different types of things, from lots of wine themes. We have artists, musicians. We had some great magicians. We have 2 different groups of magicians that come on that are amazing. Anyways, they will do lectures and performances, but then you can have breakfast and lunch with them and go on a shore excursion with them if you'd like to as well. So quite far in advance, generally, we know who the guest hosts are, and as well the onboard experts. So we can tell you that in advance for sure, or well in advance, actually. Really quickly, I just want to show you our staterooms and our suites. Our suites start, our owner's suite is over 600 square feet. The bottom left picture there is a standard outside stateroom, balcony stateroom that we have, just to give you an idea what most of the ship looks like. And these are 240 square feet. We have beautiful bedding and lovely bathrobes and linens. There's a replenished mini bar in the stateroom all the time. Full showers or bathtubs, sorry, and all of the staterooms have full bathtubs. There's only 2 that don't have bathtubs, but there are 2 with huge showers. I just want to talk a little bit about a balcony. On the top right, you can see this picture of the lady with the balcony. Many of you have probably sailed on maybe river cruises or other ships where it might not be important to be in a balcony, but here you want to open the doors and smell the fresh air and sit out on your balcony and have room service bring you breakfast or lunch or appetizers in the afternoon. And here you can see how close you are into the destination like this. So I highly encourage you to look at a balcony and of course suites as well. The ship has a marina off the back, so the water activities, the paddleboarding and the kayaking are included. And the water is usually like this calm, so we can take the paddleboards and kayaks, and the marina comes down virtually every day when you're in the islands. Here you are going to experience one of the richest, most colorful marine ecosystems in the world. I don't know if you knew, but 1% of, or less than 1% of the Earth's ocean floor is covered with coral reefs, but it's home to 25% of the world's marine life. And in French Polynesia, you can expect to see everything from every kind of colored coral, colored fish, stingrays, sharks, manta rays, dolphins, turtles. So it is just the most fascinating place to see all different kinds of marine ecosystems. And you don't necessarily need to be a scuba diver. I don't scuba dive, I snorkel. And one of my favorite excursions that I do is in Bora Bora. And it's about a 4-hour excursion. We take you to an area, Coral Gardens it's called, and you can stand up to your chest in water, bath water warm, and you can see stingrays. They'll come up to you. The sharks will come up to you. The sharks actually take off before you can touch them. But it's one of the excursions that I always do when I'm in the islands. To give you an idea, that excursion, if you book it up, it's always small groups. And one of the times I did it, we had a group of, there was about 10 of us that went out on a boat. We had dolphins beside the boat. We got out and we sailed over top of a manta ray. We saw whales, and then we, like I said, stood in the water and saw the stingrays and the sharks. Now, for years, actually, I showed on my presentations pictures that Randy and Brian had from swimming with whales when they were in Tahiti. It's the most amazing thing you can imagine. And some of the pictures, you'll have to get Randy to show you, but you can see Brian's arm and there's a whale like right behind her in the water. It's just absolutely incredible. So, and that was just snorkeling. That wasn't scuba diving, but we do offer, I wanted to tell you about pricing. So that excursion is $130 US that you can book if you'd like to. And I can talk to you more about other excursions, or the travel advisors can give you an idea about our excursions, but they'll start anywhere from $60 to, hundreds if you want to flight see. Scuba diving is not included, but it is so there is an additional charge, but we have 2 dive masters right on board the ship. So you can go out in a Zodiac or a speedboat. We take you out. We include all the gear, so you don't have to worry about bringing any of your scuba gear. And excursions every single day. So there's numerous excursions that you can do. Lots and lots of different scuba excursions. They start at about $100 for a 1-tank dive, so really inexpensive there as well. Remember I said we had private retreats? This is absolutely one of the highlights. It is Motu. Motu, by the way, is an islet in Tahitian, and it's Motu Mahana, and it's in a group of islands called Taha. Everyone's drinking out of coconuts here, and when you get tired of coconuts, we have this floating bar. There's other bars here as well. We have a lavish barbecue. We have tons of lounge chairs. You can walk out into the water on the one side here, 15 minutes out into the ocean, and you're up to your chest in bath water, warm water. It's 27 degrees year round the ocean is here. And also on the other side, you can see sort of in the distance there's a reef, and there's really good drift snorkeling. So if you're a lazy snorkeler like I am, you can just go and you start at the one end of the reef, and it kind of shoots you along to the other side back to, and then you walk back on the island and come back and you can do it again. So there's lots of fun things to do in Motumahana. And then also in Bora Bora, we have a private beach here. And in Bora Bora, they say Bora Bora has a painter's palette of blues, the ocean. So if you see what I mean by the different colors of blue that you can see just looking out over Mount Otamanu here, which is iconic. So this is the perfect place to take a selfie. Here we have sand and trees and a bar, that's it. And it's, again, as I said, a highlight for our guests. So at the heart of every cruise we do is a 7-night itinerary, and then from them we add on to it. So I'll just quickly go through to talk to you about the itineraries, because I think sometimes people think, oh, it's all the South Pacific, so wherever I go, it's all the same. But each of these itineraries will charm you in a different way. We always fly into Papeete, and that's where we start. There's great black sand beaches, waterfalls. There's a market that's been in Papeete for over 100 years. And it has everything from crafts to Tahitian pearls, all different kind of flowers you can purchase, all different kinds of things. So it's really quite neat. It's about a 10-minute walk from the ship where we dock. And then the next day we sail into Huahine. So Huahine is where I showed you the children that were dancing. It's also an area that has the most archaeological sites of any of the islands, pristine beaches. And next day we're in Motumahana, that's our private beach. Bora Bora, we overnight. So Bora Bora is probably one of the most romantic places on earth. And it has that beautiful view in the background like this that you can see. So you have 2 full days to explore Bora Bora. So it is a very port intensive itinerary. As much as we have a great ship and it's a great way to see the islands, we know we're all about the destination. And then on this itinerary, then we overnight in Moorea as well. So Moorea is known for 8 mountain peaks, very lush, very mountainous, and then beautiful, beautiful white sand beaches. So if you only have 7 days, this is the quintessential French Polynesia. You get to see a little bit of everything without having to pack or unpack. From there, we kind of add on to those itineraries. We have the Tuamotus, which are really great for diving. Rangiroa is the 2nd largest lagoon in the world, and Fakarava is a UNESCO World Biosphere, so one of only 7 in the world. So great for snorkeling and diving. Cook Islands are probably one of the most itineraries for Canadians. I think folks like the duration as well as the feel where you get that New Zealand Maori kind of feel along with French Polynesia. Aitutaki so flat you can see the ocean from anywhere on the island, and then Rarotonga is really lush, really mountainous, and beautiful white sand beaches. You're probably thinking I've said that quite a few times, but in comparison, the Marquesas have a very rugged coastline, so not necessarily great beaches in the Marquesas. The reason you go to the Marquesas is because it has its own ecosystem. There are plants and animals that only live in the Marquesas. There's actually more wild horses in the Marquesas than there are people. So very remote and pristine. And you get on the beginning of this itinerary, you get the beaches, of course, and the other destinations that I've shown you before. Our longest itinerary right now is an 13-night sailing that sails to 4 very different archipelagos. So we sail everywhere all the way from Papeete to Fiji, which is about 4,000 miles, just so you know, or 4,000 kilometers, sorry. So it's about the same distance as Calgary to Toronto. So you cross the international date line, sail into Tonga. So talk about a bucket list destination. Tonga is the only place in the South Pacific that was never colonized by the Europeans, so it still has its own monarchy. It's very difficult to travel to Tonga, so if you're a destination collector, it's a great itinerary. So throughout the year and every year, those are the itineraries that we do. In 2022, we have our itineraries announced right now. We're just waiting on our pricing. But in 2022, we will not be doing Fiji. So if you want to sail to Fiji, 2021 is your year to do that. But other than that, we have those other itineraries. We do offer a complimentary blessing ceremony on board. So if you're celebrating a milestone anniversary or a honeymoon, the Gauguins take and they wrap you in this traditional quilt and they do a blessing, and that's complimentary for our guests on board. We find many of our guests are celebrating a milestone birthday. You know, it could be a 20, 30, 40th birthday, or a 20, 30, 40th anniversary for that matter. But lots of people do find Paul Gauguin and French Polynesia a great way to celebrate such a milestone. Pono is actually building us 2 brand new ships by the end of 2023. So one in 2022, and then one in 2023. As with all of the Pono is the only French owned cruise line, and all of their ships are on the cutting edge of technology in terms of environmental protection and population protection. So these new vessels, they'll have 230 guests on board, and they will have smokeless operation in port for up to 10 hours a day. So lots of new and exciting things happening on this, and the folks at Expedia Cruises and Valley will be able to tell you more about that as well. I'm getting close to the end here, but I just want to talk a little bit about weather. It is always warm. It's average temperature of 28 degrees year round. And the end of November till about the end of February, we do get more rain. Typically what happens is it's beautiful all day, and then you get a 45-minute downpour, and then it's clear for a couple of days, and then you might get rain. It's unusual to get multiple days of rain, but it does happen. So if it is going to spoil your vacation to get some rain, just avoid November till about the end of February. But just so you know, most people travel with us in the first quarter of the year or the fourth quarter of the year, and we get more hours of sunshine during that time than Hawaii does, for an example. So it is a tropical destination, but I like I say, just kind of steer away from those days if it would really bother you to have rain. I like to just close with talking about price, because I've told you we're all inclusive and we're luxurious, and I'm always a little bit worried that people are thinking we're expensive. Our Canadian residence rates, so every sailing we have is either 10 or 20% off for Canadian residents. We start right now at $4,016 US, and that is for a 7-day sailing in an outside stateroom. That includes the air out of Los Angeles and transfers and day rooms, as I said, and all of your drinks and beverages and everything that I've talked to you about. Now, of course, we have owner suites and we have longer sailings as well. So that is our from price, but I think it's probably less than many of you were expecting. And I think people go to far less exotic destinations and spend more than that. So just know that we have the Canadian residents right through to 2022. I'm going to see if my video is going to play. It looked like it was going to play. It's a short video that just talks to you about Paul Gauguin Cruises, and then I'll open it up for questioning here. I jinxed myself because it did look like it was going to play, didn't it? Let's try it one more time. No, it really won't. It looks like it must be the bandwidth this evening. So that's a great 2-minute video that, like I said, the folks at Expedia Cruises, they can share that with you at any time. We have plenty of videos about even shore excursions and all different kinds of things as well. So we can share those with you at any time. So Meruru means thank you, and Tahitian, and I do want to thank you. I really appreciate, I'll tell you, I've been working with Randy and Lisa and the folks at Expedia Cruises in Valley View for many, many, many years. And I just love working with them because they really know their stuff. So if you're wondering which itinerary is best for you, or what time of year, just anything that you're wondering about Paul Gauguin Cruises, they are the folks that can answer these questions for you. And I encourage you to talk to them about anything. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all on board the ship someday.
Thank you so much, Vicki. Brought back a lot of memories for me. The one thing that I think stuck out the most for me was the night in Moorea. You bring on the mamas of Moorea, the women who come on with baskets and baskets and baskets of flowers, and they're just strewn all over the floor in front of the dining rooms, and they will make haze and lays for you. And the smell of the flowers is intoxicating. It's absolutely phenomenal. So
Yeah, it's fun.
We
And you
talked
can
about-
sit with them and do it too. Like they'll do, yeah, it was great.
And the staff, I mean, they were quite incredible. And yeah, you're 100% right. They know your name. They know what you like. They knew that 12:30, it was time for rosé. So
Yeah.
they definitely did take very, very good care of us. Are there any questions? If there are, you can type them into the chat box, or you can unmute yourself if you want. So I don't see any questions. So I do thank you very much for joining us. As I said, our office is open. You're welcome to call us, email us. We do ask if you want to stop in to please make an appointment, just so we can make sure that we have the social distancing protocols in place for you. But we look forward to hearing from you, helping you plan your future vacations. If you enjoyed this event, we do have a series of events that we're doing over the next few weeks. So just contact your Expedia Cruises consultant and we're happy to send you the Zoom link. So on that note, I thank you so much for sharing a beautiful destination with us and your time. So have a wonderful evening.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.